never amount to anything if they do not organize. The Occupy movement of 2024 is the thing that scared everybody, including the late Raila Odinga. Because there's a young lady who told Raila, wewe kaa nyumbani, don't come out, we don't want you, sir. We used to spend 14 shillings out of every 100. 14 shillings out of every 100 is what we used to pay madeni, debt service. Uhuru and Ruto took it from 14 shillings for every 100 to 72 for every 100 shillings. So Kenyans are only left with 28 shillings out of every 100 to pay for the police, the military, the teachers, education, healthcare, development, roads, and everything. So what happens? They borrow all the other money. They borrow. Ruto is not going to allow you to get employment because unemployed young people are easier to manipulate than young people with their gigs, with their jobs, with their businesses.
Okay, let's welcome Cyprian.
Very good.
Karibu sana. That's your sister. Karibu sana. Yeah, so thank you so much for just taking your time to be with us on for this great occasion. Yeah, we've been here from around 8 in the morning having conversation. I think the big question that we're asking ourselves here today, and I guess summarizing that, beyond voting, how else can young people keep participating in this democratic process? Is it just about going to the ballot and casting your vote and that is all? I've elected the president, I've elected my MP, I've elected my MC, and all these people wait for another 5 years. But in the meantime, please take the microphone and introduce yourself after your flag.
Am I audible? Thank you very much. So, thank you very much, Opondo. My name is Cyprian Nyamwamu. I am a 50-year-old Kenyan, father of 4, married to 1 wife. And I am very, very happy to be here today. I've interacted with Opondo in other forums. I am running for the governorship of Nairobi in 2027, and I'm very, very happy to be here this morning. And Opondo, you've raised a very important question about, apart from voting, are there other ways in which young people can participate in governance and transforming their country? So I want to summarize in this way. There are probably about 18 ways in which young people can be involved in the governance and transformation of their country. But I want to summarize them into 2 big blocks. The first block is that there is the election phase, which is about serving as a voter, a political party official, serving as an agent in those elections, and an elections manager for good leaders to come into office, but also offering yourselves as candidates. So that's about what needs to be done around elections to get the right people into office. Let me remind us again, to register as a voter, to actually turn up on the election day. It is about offering yourself as a candidate, serving as a manager or agent in the elections. And so those are very important roles in our democratic process. But the big chunk of young people's involvement in governance starts on the day after elections. The big assignment happens the day after elections. That is where the work starts, because that's where the bulk of the other 14 functions begins from. And we conducted a nationwide research in the year 2021, which showed us the things that not just young people but citizens have to do if they are going to get the value for the social contract that they enter between themselves and the people they put in office. So I wanted to make that introduction that way, that there is the functions and ways to participate before and during elections, and then the real work begins the day after elections. And I hope that we will go to that a little bit more.
Maybe before we go further, let's appreciate you. Before starting any question, are you worried about 2027? The state of the country?
I am very deeply worried and concerned about 2027 because since 2008, we have been conducting what we call long-term research and studies about Kenya's elections and governance generally. And the leaders in the room this morning may know that since 1992, we have had 4 elections that we call incumbency elections, meaning that the president who was in office was going to defend his seat. That's why we call them incumbency elections. And then we have had 3 transitional elections, meaning that the president in office was not going to defend his seat. Every transitional election has been peaceful. I'm talking about 2002, I'm talking about 2013, I'm talking about 2022. All transitional elections are always peaceful. And every incumbency election since 1992, 97, 2007, 2017, they have all been very bloody. 2027 is going to be the 5th incumbency election, meaning that President Ruto is going to defend his seat. Now, the pattern since 1992 shows that every incumbency election is bloody. The signs towards 2027 are the worst we have ever seen since 1992. And I'll tell you why 2027 is going to be different from the other 4 incumbency elections. It's because there has never been a number of unemployed young people like it is this year. In 1992, 1997, 2002, if you called a rally on a working day like today, there was nobody to attend your rallies. Rallies used to happen on weekends only. After 2007, we saw a certain phenomenon emerging in Kenya, that you can actually call a rally on a working day and it will be filled. In 2010, 2013, the rallies would be filled, but they were not going to be very large because there were very few young people who were not in employment. After 2017, the crisis exploded. We now have 17 million adults above the age of 18 in this country who are unemployed. In the state, I'm going to say this very candidly without fear of contradiction. The state has weaponized unemployment among young people to destroy young people's lives. The state has weaponized unemployment to destroy the lives of young people. That's why 2027 is different. There is no violence that you can cause in this country if the government does not approve of it. I'm saying something, I don't know whether the leaders are hearing what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you plan violence and the government is not in agreement with you, you will be arrested and jailed very early. But that's what you have seen with young people's peaceful protests. Anything that is not in favor of government is thwarted very quickly. But when government wants to weaponize young people to disrupt and wreak havoc against other people's functions, you've seen that goonism has now emerged in this country in a way that it has never happened before. So we have not only militia groups, gangs, but we now have goons as a trend in the political space. And that's why 2027 is of great concern. We will get a bit more time to talk about the use of social media, fake news, misinformation, and disinformation as a big driver of the concern we have about 2027. And the Kofi Annan Foundation has just published a report last week which confirms what I'm talking about.
Right.
So, I just have one question. As much as the Constitution has defined the responsibilities of the people towards the government, so what other responsibilities do we have for the government, and the responsibilities of the government for the people, and where's the difference?
Thank you very much. Can I take that?
You can take
Yeah, so we broadly in governance, I'm sure Opondo told you that I am the executive director of the Future of Kenya Foundation, and we are a think tank around governance and policy. We basically categorize these two groups as the rights holders, which is the citizens, and then the duty bearers. So every citizen who is in an office, public office, is a duty bearer. And all of us are rights holders. So the rights holders have many obligations, not to government, but to the republic, And those in office have obligations to the citizens who give them the mandate, the social contract. So every office in this country, if you go to this constitution from chapter 1 to chapter 7, it defines the country. From chapter 1, 2, 3, chapter 3 is on citizenship, chapter 4 is on the Bill of Rights, chapter 5 is on land and environment, 6 is on leadership and integrity, and then 7 speaks about political parties and the representation of the people. Now, in this constitution, from chapter 8 all the way to chapter 15, these are the people we place in office. Chapter 8 is on the legislature, chapter 9 on the executive, chapter 10 on the judiciary, chapter 11 on devolved government, chapter 12 on public finance, like that, all the way to commissions. So from chapter 8 all the way to chapter 15, these are the people we have mandated. So the people under the legislature have obligations to the people. So you will know that Senate and the National Assembly have these obligations against the people, for the people, which is basically to represent them, to legislate, and to oversight the executive, which they're not doing very well, by the way. The 13th Parliament is the worst since independence, if I can mention that. So we have covered chapter 8. Chapter 9 talks about the executive. So if you go to Article 132, the 10 responsibilities of the president are listed there. You will see that uniting the country is, for example, a big obligation which the president has, apart from executing the issues of development and securing the people, etc. So those are the obligations under chapter 9. You go to chapter 10, the judiciary has been given very clear duties and obligations. For example, in Article 165, the High Court has been given very clear responsibilities. I'm just giving an example. Then you go to chapter 11, which is devolution. So the county government and the county assembly and the county executive has been given obligations. Then you go to chapter 12, under public finance, the Auditor General, Central Bank, and all the people involved in public finance have been given obligations in chapter 12. So you go to the next chapter, which is 13, public service, and then 14 is on security, the military, Kenya Defense Forces, the police, etc. And then you go to the commissions and the independent officers in chapter 15. So this constitution, that's why I asked how many of us have a copy, and if we refer to it. If we were to follow this constitution, even 20%, this country would be a transformed place. The thing about the two administrations that have been there since we passed the constitution in 2010, the problem has been that they have observed the constitution in breach. What's the meaning of that? Kwamba wametekeleza katiba kwa kuihujumu. They have observed the constitution in breach. They do not respect the constitution. That's why you've seen the way President Ruto is behaving. He behaves as if we don't have a constitution in this country. Are you getting what I'm saying? He operates as if we don't have a constitution. And if he was to follow it, even a little bit, then this country will be seeing transformation. But we are observing it in breach.
Let me ask you, maybe just on behalf of these people,
yes.
In 1 minute, who is the president in a minute?
The president is, as I've told you, is defined, and he or she is supposed to be the head of state, lead the chief executive of the republic. Number 3, he or she is supposed to be the one who unites the people, and his oath of office, that's the 4th thing, has given him specific functions to uphold the constitution and ensure that the rights of every citizen are secured. So those are 4 important things about the office of the president. His qualifications are there in the constitution, in Article 99, and so on and so forth. So that is who we call the president.
Then now, who is the governor?
The governor in in chapter 11, as I have explained very clearly, is the chief executive of a county government. And the governor is the one who implements the objectives of devolution, which are in Article 174 and Article 176. They are very clear. Ensure participation and the 5 things that we devolved. So the governor is supposed to be somebody who is qualified to deliver on the 5 things that we devolved. We devolved political power. That's the first thing that we devolved. We devolved administration. That's why every governor forms the CEC, chief officers, directors. Okay. That's administrative devolution. Then number 3 is that we devolve money. That's what we call fiscal, FISCAL, fiscal devolution. So that we devolve money. We not only devolve politically, administratively, but we also devolve, money, fiscal devolution. Number 4 is that we did service delivery devolution. So all the 14 functions of county governments are provided for in the schedule. We call it the 4th schedule in this constitution. So the 14 functions are there. And what you asked, this is one of the things I've seen in this country, where the president has usurped the mandate of county government. He is the one who's building markets, he's doing housing, he's doing agriculture, he's doing water, he's doing... Those functions are in Schedule 4. They are devolved functions. So, when we come to that, I hope we'll talk about it a little bit. And the 5th devolution is what we call values devolution. We devolved all the values that are in Article 10. Article 10 of this constitution provides what we call national values and principles. One of them is participation, human rights, democracy, good governance, accountability. All those values in Article 10 are also devolved.
So those are the 5 functions that we devolved?
We devolved the 5 things that we devolved, not the functions. The 5 things we devolved are political devolution, administrative devolution, physical devolution of money. Number 4, we did service delivery devolution. And number 5, we did values devolution.
Okay, then now for a senator, what is the role of the senator?
So the senator is, we already covered them in chapter 8. The role of the senator is to lead in oversight of the executive at the national level, but also the executive at the county level. Number 2 is to make legislation. Number 4 is to represent the people in their counties and represent the country. There's no senator who does not represent Kenya. You represent your senate, your county, but you also represent Kenya. So those are the 3 broad functions. I like when you ask that, because majority of the senators actually don't know why they were elected. They don't know their function. They don't do any of the things that they were elected to do. And that actually is the tragedy of our constitution, because people are in office, but they do not know why they are in office.
Who is the woman representative there?
A woman representative is a member of parliament in the National Assembly, whose specific tasks are the ones that are there for every member of parliament, which is to legislate, which is to represent not just women, but everybody from their county. And number 3, they're supposed to do oversight over the executive, like all the other members in the National Assembly. The reason we created the office of the woman representative is because we knew that Kenyans don't like electing women. And so we needed to create what we call affirmative action seats, so that we can be able to give them a competition amongst ladies alone. In that way, give them capacity to now compete in the competitive seats. And there are very many women reps who have gone on to be elected as governors, as a constituency, MPs, as senators. For example, Mishi Boko in Mombasa. You know, she was the woman rep for Mombasa. And because of that cloud she experienced and gathered as a woman rep, she now was able to be elected as the recording member of parliament. So it's a very important. Gladys Wanga, woman rep, now governor. The others who were women rep are now senators. Mwangaza was woman rep, she was elected governor. So it's a very important to deal with the patriarchy in Kenya and the general negative view of women's leadership. We create a position where women can demonstrate that they can actually be excellent leaders, just like the rest.
Let's finish the other 2 positions, then now we bring the conversation. And who is the member of the National Assembly in a minute?
Member of the county. All of you work on the National Assembly. So the National Assembly, we have 290 of them who are elected, but also the woman rep is a member of the National Assembly. Then we have 12 nominated members of the National Assembly, making them a total of 349. So that with the Speaker, then they become 350. As we have said, they have the 3 broad roles. And I'll tell you something interesting about National Assembly members. So these 290 plus the others we have already spoken about have the 3 principal roles of representation, legislation, and oversight, which they are not doing well, as you know. The tragedy of Kenya's politics is that we made a mistake of giving members of the National Assembly something called CDF. That's the tragedy we actually caused on ourselves. We gave people who are supposed to do oversight money to implement projects. And that's why we lost the constitution. So then we went to court and demanded that the national government CDF be removed from MPs, because somebody who's supposed to do oversight and is also implementing projects cannot do oversight. Cannot do oversight. So the Uhuru administration and now Ruto realized that the only way you are going to do corruption without being questioned by members of the National Assembly, add them CDF, and they have also given them roads. So MPs do not campaign to be elected so that they can do the three functions of represent, legislate, and oversight. They actually campaign so that they can be able to control CDF and the roads money. The roads money is a lot. It's about 70 to 90 million. And the CDF ranges from about 140 million to 200. So the day they get elected, they already control nearly 300 million shillings. And they're the ones who are deciding who is going to do this contract for roads, who's going to do this contract for bursaries, schools, construction, etc. That is where we shot ourselves in the foot. And we need to deal with CDF and devolve money. The late Right Honorable Raila Odinga was probably the only public figure who spoke openly against CDF and the roads money, because he understood that that is where the constitution died a natural death.
Yes. A gentleman here wants to run for a member of county assembly.
Yes.
Makina Ward, and is yes. In the beginning of gentleman, just wait. I mean, he's already
No, it looks like one. It looks like one already.
Who is this guy going to be? This position called MC. Who is this man?
Well, I've actually published and written a lot about MCAs because it's the most important office in the Republic of Kenya. Yet it is the most disgraced or looked down upon. If we got it right with the 1,450 MCAs, if we got it right there, the revolution will happen from the villages. Because the member of the county assembly, actually, instead of having three functions like the members at the National Assembly, the MCA is involved in very many other functions that a senator or a member of the National Assembly does not have, including planning, including appropriation, including oversight, which we have already spoken about, including cohesion in community. The MCAs have many more roles than the members of the National Assembly and the members of Senate. So not only is he going to have the work of legislation, the work of appropriations, the work of representation, the work of oversight over the executive, the MCAs naturally have many other unwritten roles because they are right in the community. They organize civic education, they organize public participation, they organize many other functions that have not even been written in the CGA. The CGA is the County Governments Act, which we passed in 2012, amongst the other 6 acts that deal with devolution.
Let me ask you, Cyprian, now that we at least have an idea of who these 6 people are,
yes,
where you see, do you think we need these people? Do we need these 6 positions really? I know some of you maybe are wondering, does it really make sense? Because some of their duties look like they're overlapping. Do we need these 6 positions in election?
None of those functions are overlapping.
Okay.
None of those functions are overlapping. What has happened is that the executive at the national level has usurped the roles of the other 5 officers. That's the problem we have. It is the presidency which has eaten into the roles of the other officers, the other 5 officers, and that's what we have to address going forward. Because a powerful presidency, we call it the winner takes it all, the presidential system of government that we have. I'm a teacher of political science, that's why I'm trying to simplify these basic concepts. So the problem with the presidential system of government is that the winner takes it all. That's why you see MPs going all over the place to say that they have to support the president so that the president can do development in their areas. But the president does not have any money. All the money is in parliament. All the money is in parliament. But you see, the presidency is the one which appoints the cabinet secretary for finance and the other ministers. And so if you are not aligned to the government of the day, we call it the GOTD, the government of the day, what the president basically does is to ensure that you don't get anything in your county or constituency, which is actually unconstitutional, as I say.
All right. Any questions? Okay, there's a question there, then let's start with Simon at the back.
I have 2 questions for you. So one is to do with economic disparity. So we've been having a conversation here since morning, and I strongly and firmly believe that most of the challenges that we face, not only as the youth, as an individual category, but largely speaking, our parents and our grandparents, is due to the lack of access to resource and finance. So at the same time, and this is disappointing, don't you think that having 1,045 MCAs, 311 members of parliament, and
National Assembly, 349.
349
Plus the speaker makes it
plus the speaker makes it 350, plus 47 senators, and all of the
67.
67 senators, not 57.
20 nominated.
Yeah, 18 nominated.
Including Cyprian Nyamwamu.
Isn't that a bit of overkill? We've seen governments that operate on less, but they run more efficiently, and they do better than ours.
Yes.
So are these seats needed at that frequency? That's all.
Let me just say what he's trying to say directly. The generation that came before, don't you think you kind of misled the country by bringing all this? Well, like, what was foreseen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on some of my mind. Now, for my question. According to the social contract, we as the citizens have to give up some of our rights to the government, right? Now, we are operating with a government that does not necessarily follow the constitution, but operates under the scale of statecraft. Now, as a people, we are supposed to follow the constitution, but how does that amount to a cohesive move of a nation if the government in place does not follow that? That meaning we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary coming together. I mean, they are supposed to be 3 very independent groups, but they have now come together under one man who is operating under statecraft, not the constitution. So how can we as a people make sure that we get back to the constitution? Because if we try any form of revolution, it is only the government that bears the monopoly of violence. So we don't have our way through. What can we do as a people?
I have 3 questions. I've written mine down. So that
3 of them?
Yes.
Oh, those ones are need to write.
Right. So
Just a moment.
Go on. Okay.
my first question is the fact that you mentioned that real work begins after elections. So what do you mean? The second one is we can run back through history to predict the future in regards to 2027, that there will not be bloodshed. But what can we do to ensure that we avoid spilling blood? Because sisi wote ni watu wakubwa, so we can always come up with a discussion. So being a man after the heart and safety of Kenya, what would you propose? My third question is, we are saying that democracy is everything. But the youth, we are close to 20 million, right? Yes, 20 million. And we seem not to have a specific spearhead so that we can place on top of this mountain we call the Kenyan elections. So who are we supposed to be electing? Who are we supposed to be replacing the person who is there? And what should we do? Because we don't have anyone.
Let's take the last one from Joe. You know, everyone believes that once you go to the ballot and vote, our job is done. So it is now the job of the 6 people being elected what is the job that the citizen needs to do after coming out of that negotiation? We'll come back to that. Just straight to your question.
All right. Thank you very much, Cyprian. My name is Joe.
Yes.
Chiri. One, I think that I just want to mention, but just to emphasize on my end, the place of constitutionalism. We talked about how we have a very progressive constitution all over the world. It's being talked about, but how do we build constitutionalism? Because I understand, for this to work, there has to be the goodwill around the people, but there also has to be systems that ensure rightness. But all the systems that ensure rightness have now been compromised. But how do we then go back and build constitutionalism and go back and try and implement what you said in our constitution? And then I'm worried about, you talked about the culture of rulism, and we've seen a very big surge from 2024. And it started with the police, where you are having police abduct people, they are not in uniform, they are covering themselves. How do we curb that? Because it seems even IPOA cannot be able to put the police in check, the police body. Because we saw a trend where we have even police who don't have number plates. They are not coming with identity, they are abducting people. They are going into places. And that's how now, guess they just come even the place of insecurity right now in Kenya. You go into the internet, someone has been robbed. So we don't know who is the police and who is the good, right? So what do we do and how do we curb that even as we go into 2027? And then the place of, do we really have a democracy? I really love that question. And you find, my context is, even in terms of Kenya, you find that the way we vote sometimes is party voting. Like, you'll find a voter in Kibra saying, for me, from top to bottom is ODM. But you realize, even in the ODM primaries, we have people who sit and decide who are going to get those nominations. So are we really voting for people who are going to really have a democracy? Because they're all sitting behind. Even talk about the presidential election over a long period of time. We talked about the Kikuyu mafia, who can be able to sit down and say, this will be the president. So do we really have a democracy? And are we really voting and having the president that we should have? All those are my questions.
That is Joe again. Have you just had somebody has mentioned? Okay, pass this microphone to Liz. Someone there mentioned a very important thing.
But Liz has something to say.
Oh, you also wanted to ask a question?
I think to summarize, it might look similar to some of the questions we raised.
Yeah.
But how does the average youth of today, average in economic status and education and all that stuff, go about protecting their rights in a country that does not respect democracy?
That's got questions on democracy, and the question I wanted to emphasize on, and she brought it out very well. He mentioned it, the issue of us obeying each other. So we want us to respect the government. We want to follow the constitution, but the government itself does not respect any of that. How do we get out of that? So thank you. And so the one.
Can I start with Liz's question, because 3 other people have asked it in a sense. Do you want me to see?
Any.
All right.
However comfortable.
So, just allow me to stand.
Yeah.
So the question that is being asked is this: what happens when the protector turns into the violator? I think that's the broad question that is being asked here. And I want to say as follows. This is not something that is new to Kenya. It is actually happening even in the United States of America today. You've heard of something called ICE in the US, and you've seen how brutal those people are in terms of how they violate the rights of Americans and so on and so forth. And I want to answer that question as a Pan-Africanist. I don't know how many of you see yourself as Pan-Africanists, but I am. Thank you very much, Liz. I am a Pan-Africanist. In Pan-Africanism, we say that if you do not organize, you agonize. If you do not organize, you agonize. And so the answer to all your questions is this: young people will be listened to, be respected on the day they organize. And let me clarify this. Mobilizing, because young people have this ability to organize, to mobilize, is not equivalent to organizing. In 2024, young people say they are leaderless, they are tribeless, and they are something else. Partyless. They were basically saying, we don't believe in organizing. We believe in mobilizing. And so young people are very effective in mobilizing. What I'm telling you right now is revolutionary. In movement building, what I'm telling you right now is actually revolutionary. Young people will never amount to anything if they do not organize. If they do not organize. And that is your problem. You are not organized. When we were in student leadership, and when we were young people, I was just telling Opondo today, we actually convened the first National Youth Convention in 1997 March at Limuru Conference Center. We organized NYC2, 1998 at Bomas of Kenya. And we organized the last NYC that I participated in 1997, I was 31. And we had carried out 6 National Youth Conventions. I'm challenging you. If you are going to be respected and be listened to, because you are the force right now. Let me disclose one important fact. When I voted the first time in 1997, here at the Technical University, those days it was the Kenya Polytechnic. That's why I voted first in 1997. The youth in that election, we were only 23% of the vote. I don't know whether you are getting what I'm saying. We were the minority in that election. Young people below 35 in 1997 were only 23% of the vote. How many, what's the percentage of the youth who are going to vote in this election? 69%. 69%. It is 3 times more than what we were in 1997 when I first voted. The power of young people today is unstoppable, is veritable, is actually monolithic. It's such a huge juggernaut. But it is irrelevant because you are not organized. In Ruto and Akinaoburu and all these guys will not, that's why they don't want young people to organize, because if they organize, they render them irrelevant the following morning. So what happened after Gen Z 2024 is that they call like regarding Gachagua, and they say, these people are not going to consume me alone as Ruto. They will consume you as well. I don't know whether you're following me. Mm-hmm. So the current scheme of things is something we call the conspiracy of power. Is the conspiracy of power. They have agreed amongst themselves that if you allow young people to organize, it is not just me, Ruto, they are going to get out of power. But they will render all of you irrelevant. That is why Wamunyoro has been given his land and area to colonize. Ruto has been given Rift Valley. Matiang'i has been given some part. Oburu has been given another part. So and so has been given Wetangula, and somebody else has been given another part. Somebody else from Coast. So there are these people who are called ethnic kingpins. Even here in Nairobi, you will see at Nalagwa, I saw people issuing statements and saying, we Luyas are going to vote for Ruto, and others are saying, we Luos are with Ruto, and so on. Because all of them know that if young people organize a youth vote, and then number two, they write a youth manifesto, the revolution, the peaceful revolution through the ballot that will happen in this country. I hope this clip you will cut it and share it. Because you people have been brainwashed so that you don't see the power that you have. The power that you have. Because this power of young people, if you were to organize the youth vote, this Kenya will be liberated. The manifesto was already written in 2024. You said the 14 things that you want to see in this country. Then you said you are going to occupy the churches, occupy the US Embassy, occupy IMF, occupy Parliament, occupy State House. The Occupy movement of 2024 is the thing that scared everybody, including the late Raila Odinga. Because there's a young lady who told Raila, wewe kaa nyumbani, don't come out, we don't want you, sir. And he said, oh, even me, I'm going to be relevant. So, don't forget what happened here in 2024. Because I am everywhere I go to, I arrive in Accra, and they say, first of all, tell us about the Gen Z. Who are these people? How are they able to do these things? And I tell them, what was there in 2024 is not there now. These young people were so scared because if they were allowed to unite and organize, they were going to destroy the ruling class in Kenya forever, and we were going to give birth to a new country. Let me go to the second, because I've tried to amalgamate the questions as much as possible. The question about what do we do with this poverty and the poor distribution of resources. There are no resources in Kenya to distribute. There are no resources. Where is the problem? Because Uhuru Kenyatta, who I hear people speaking about very highly, Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto, by the way, are supposed to be charged for treason because they are actually saboteurs of this country. They are actually saboteurs. Let me tell you, when President Kibaki gave them the country in 2013, we used to spend 14 shillings out of every 100. 14 shillings out of every 100 is what we used to use to pay madeni, debt servicing. Uhuru and Ruto took it from 14 shillings for every 100 to 72 for every 100 shillings. So Kenyans are only left with 28 shillings out of every 100 to pay for the police, the military, the teachers, education, healthcare, development, roads, and everything. So what happens? They borrow all the other money. They borrow. These days, they even borrow to pay salaries, which is unconstitutional. If you go to Article 220 to 21, it's actually unconstitutional what is happening in this country, as I already told you. So, let us not talk about how to share poverty. What I am recommending for you is that the youth need to come up with what I have called, and that's what I am campaigning in Nairobi, is how we can be able to develop a youth Marshall Plan. You people, don't wait for anybody. Sit down and prepare the Kenyan Youth Marshall Plan. as part of as your manifesto, the National Youth Marshall Plan. That's how we will deal with debt and secure resources for healthcare, lower interest rates, lower taxes, so that we can be able to attract investment and create jobs. Just 5 things. That's what the Youth Marshall Plan should talk about. Ruto is not going to allow you to get employment because unemployed young people are easier to manipulate than young people with their gigs, with their jobs, with their businesses. Just know that I am trying to summarize big topics like the Youth Marshall Plan. The other question that was asked, and I'm going to try and summarize them quickly now, Pondo. The other question that was posed is about how do we avoid violence as we go towards 2027, seeing what is happening today. So now, the answer to that is very simple. Organize for peace. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I was trying to see one of the posters here is of Martin Luther King Jr. and it is not, said the following, that the day we will know peace is when those who want peace organize as thoroughly as those who want war. Now let me simplify that.
Please repeat before you simplify.
The day we will know peace is when those who want peace organize as thoroughly as those who want war. Those who want war and violence do not sleep. They plan and execute with military precision. But those of us who want peace don't organize. So when you, because you are the cream, de la cream of the youth of our country, the day after today, tomorrow, when you meet and call for the National Youth Convention, not this one that Ruto controls, you know this one that the intelligence controls, the one that appoints people from locations, wards, all those kinds of things. Forget about that one.
The Youth Council.
I'm saying the Youth Council. I'm talking about a National Youth Convention of young people who want the Kanyabora to Itakayo. That is the kind of mobilization that will deliver peace. How? Because these young people know who are the gang leaders and who are the goons. You know, my brother from Makina, you know in Kibra who the MPs goons are. True or not? Yes, we know them. Then we need to form committees around every police station. Those two things alone will make this country go to an election that is free and fair. The third and last thing that we need to do, we are already thinking about it across the country. And we were having a meeting with Maraga, Chief Justice Emeritus, last week, among other political leaders, is that we need to compile the evidence and an RDU. You need to form an RDU, Research and Documentation Unit, amongst the National Youth Convention, so that we actually go to The Hague. We need to go to The Hague. You take cases to The Hague when the state is unable to secure the people. This state is unable to secure the people, true or not? When the Inspector General of Police, my friend Kanjan, says, we are now giving you the last warning, you goons. You don't give goons a warning. You arrest them and try them in a court of law. He's not a pastor. Kanja is not a pastor who is doing altar calls. You know altar calls. Now change, convert, so that you can now come to Christ. He's not a pastor to do altar calls. He's the Inspector General of the police with a constitutional mandate. But Kanja is not Kanja must be the first one in the ICC prosecution. He must. Because he has the command, authority and responsibility in the Republic of Kenya. Even the DCI is under him. Even the OCPDs, county commanders, everybody in this country called a police officer is under Kanja. And Kanja has abdicated his constitutional obligation so that he can allow the people in government to do what they want. Murkomen must be on that list of the people to ICC. And finally, the president himself. He is the one with the highest political responsibility for security in the Republic of Kenya. If the youth can do those three things, organize the National Youth Convention, establish committees around every police station and committees in every ward, and number three, do a compilation of the violations and deliver the evidence to ICC. We will have a peaceful election next year. You will not see a single person dying or losing their lives next year. I think I've covered the other questions by way of putting them together. I hope Momanyi have responded to the social contract. I've spoken about elections. Did we over-establish the constitution by the number of officers? Who asked that question? By the number of officers we created. We did not create too many officers. The only place we made a mistake was to create 47 counties. On the rest, we did not make a mistake. The only place we made a mistake was to use, I can now tell you because this constitution is what took the whole of my youth. I went to committee, to industrial area, to all these police stations you see here for this constitution. This constitution. That's why, for me, this constitution is not an academic document. It's a document I wrote with my own blood. The reason I keep standing is because my back was injured here near Parliament buildings by the police. No. That's why I keep standing. Don't worry. So this constitution, the only problem was to create 47 counties. According to the Bomas conference, we were supposed to have 14, not 47. And so, that is where we have a problem. So that if we can reduce the counties to only 14, as was provided for in Bomas, and have 14 regional governments, this country will be transformed completely. So that's my answer to the question that my son, I nearly call you my brother, but I remember that you are the age mate of my daughter. so that would be my answer. The only mistake we made was to over-establish the counties. But everything else, for 1,450 wards, came down from the wards that were there, which were 2,900. We have 2,900 wards. So we merged very many wards to create 1,450. We've spoken about Bunism and what needs to be done. Are we still a democracy and a constitution? No, we are not. We are actually a work in progress. You asked a very important question. I'll refer you to what the late Professor Hastings W.H. Ogendo wrote. Prof. Ogendo spoke about the situation in Africa where we have constitutions without constitutionalism. And that's exactly where we are today. We have a constitution without constitutionalism, where even court orders are not respected. I mean, we are not a democracy. We are a work in progress. I don't want you young leaders to lose hope. I want you to know that where we have come from is what was very ugly. you now have an opportunity to actually cover the ground that is remaining. So there is hope. I want you to know that there's a lot of hope for Kenya because of this constitution and the other 5 things that you have, we did not have. For example, the way technology is available to you, you can post anything that you want to post. Young people in this country are not desperate. You are able to organize and change this country. That's why I'm very, very hopeful about young people. That's why I want you to establish the National Youth Convention, do your manifesto, which is the Youth Marshall Plan, and deal with violence, this hooliganism, and the issues of money. And finally, hold everybody in office accountable. Once you establish the National Youth Convention, you are able to hold everybody accountable without anybody being abducted, Our hope for redemption is in the young people, because if we add the young people below 35 plus what we call the millennials start from 1981, I think, 81 or 82, the millennials. The millennials and the Gen Zs in this election will represent 76% of the vote. That's more than 3/4. So there's hope. But you must organize, because, as we say in Pan-Africanism, if you do not organize, what will happen? To organize. If there's something I want to leave with the young leaders, who of you is not a leader? Let me check. Who of you is not a leader? I'm very happy. All of them are leaders. They have taken a responsibility. Because if you're not a leader, you're a bleeder. You're a bleeder. If you're not a leader, you're a bleeder. Thank you very much.
Right. I'll take 2 questions. I know we are really out of time because we started 30 minutes late, which I think we should hold him accountable, right? In the spirit of the new leadership, I mean, leaders may also arrive on time. Okay, fine. So quick, then we come back to maybe respond in 5 minutes. We call it a day. I know we're supposed to be out of this place by 1.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Maybe just clarify. How, as aspirants, how are you going to build the state capital? Another question. We got in this country where he or the president, when he's walking around in there, he or she is being surrounded by around 20 security men, or maybe 50. But if you go to maybe European countries, US, you find that the president or leader is just being free. So how are you going to address that issue of security when you become maybe governor and you seek out?
Another very good one. You're running to be governor, and I'm trying to imagine the chaos in Nairobi. What are your plans to make sure that you get it?
Yeah, my question is on the external influence in our politics. I think it's very ignorant of us to think that other parties are not interested in this nation. And during the Finance Bill 2024, it was very clear when Kenyans emailed World Bank asking for them not to approve loans. And yet here we are, 2 years later, with a 97 billion loan to curb corruption. It's such a paradox. So what do we do with external factors that affect our politics? Because there's interest in this nation, and you see with the Ebola centers being established, with the minerals being discovered, with all these people who, and now the introduction of a golden residential passport, where as long as you're an investor, you can immediately become a Kenyan citizen. So how do we be able to balance between relationships and when neocolonialism is becoming very evident with a president who's a puppet of the race?
That's right. Anyone this side? Mike Kian Imenda, sasa imeenda kabisa, not you. Let me take from others first, and then I'll come back.
My name is Brian.
Yes, Brian.
Yeah, there's a question asked on economic disparities, and I think it's a major factor when it comes to implementation of democracy, because we have seen clearly, despite the fact that, okay, you dismissed it, I don't know in some way, I didn't get a clear answer to it, and he asked about what exactly can be done to remove that economic disparity. Look at it, we still have some young person somewhere who will be given 50 shillings or 500 to go and interrupt a certain political rally somewhere. Or we still have someone who just bought some glass of changa in some village somewhere to go do all sorts of atrocities to other people because they probably don't believe in the same political ideologies, and they will do that successfully. If we still have this problem among young people, and you tell us that we are saying like a democracy in progress, what exactly do you think can be done? Because for us to have that level of change, we must have these people do the right thing, like probably not be manipulated and all that. So for this manipulation to end, you say that we don't have resources to distribute and all that. What exactly will make this young person to change his mind and not accept that 500 shillings to go and be used in that?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Is there a revolution happening outside of it?
Yes, according to the spirit of revolution.
Yes, please.
How are we going to trust a system that uses vyombo vya dola like the police? You say Inspector Campde is your friend. Yes, because a lot of cases are whereby police are the ones used to harass the citizens.
That's right.
So how are we going to trust a system that uses police?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other?
I want to combine it with the state capture question that was raised.
Can you tell us about the gentleman, then you take all the questions at once?
Good.
No.
Okay, my name is James. Touching on police.
I didn't get your name.
My name is James.
James.
Touching on police matter. Police matters. Why is Kenya still reluctant to say or dates to criminalize enforced disappearance?
Okay. Now give it to Lokwe. Please, less than a minute, Lokwe.
Thank you. My name is Nogua Lokwe, and you said that we need to take to health. So does that mean that one of his functions is that he's a symbol of national unity? So does it mean that right now he's not that symbol of national unity that we are supposed to take him to head? That was my question.
Very good. Okay. So let's start there so that we take them together. So I've told you that the functions of the president are in Article. Yeah, so the functions of the president are articulated in the Constitution, Article 131, Article 132, and one of them is the security and the cohesion of the country. The human rights of every citizen is actually the responsibility of the president. On the day of swearing in, that is what you see in the oath of office. He has the powers to ensure that every citizen is secure in the Republic of Kenya. So when citizens disappear through enforced disappearances, torture, abductions, extrajudicial killings, and all that long list of what we have witnessed in the country, there's a principle we call the responsibility to protect, the R2P, the responsibility to protect, is exclusively in the dock of the president. That's a combination that needs to come out very clearly. President Ruto is for political responsibility. He's the one with the highest political responsibility to secure the rights of the people. We need to let everybody know that if you are not able to do the job, don't ask for it. Don't ask for it. If you are not able to cook in the kitchen, quit going to the kitchen if the heat is too much. Let only those, like Opono is asking how I'll manage Nairobi, governance is my forte, that's my work. That's what I have done. I've advised governments, 17 of them across Africa. That is my business, how to turn resources and opportunities to deliver the objectives of the country. That is something that I know how to do. If you do not know how to do the job, don't ask for it. Don't ask for it. That is what we are saying and communicating very clearly. Now let me combine the question about Vyombo vya Dola and state capture. State capture is the core problem in the Republic because of impunity. And impunity is dealt with through accountability. When you hold everybody accountable for the things he's signed to do. That day, when we enforce accountability, impunity will disappear. That's only how you manage. In governance, we say that impunity exists if there's no accountability. So state capture of IBC, or commissions, or ministries, of the police, everybody, happens because of impunity. Impunity. People say, oh, tumeambiwa kutoka juu kwamba tufanye hivi na hivi. But actually in Article 135 Opondo, it is said clearly that everybody can only implement constitutional and lawful orders which are written down. Because we lived under Moi, where it used to be, it has been said from above. We said we must end that culture. And so in the Constitution we say the orders have to be written down. If you are going to say that they are legal and constitutional, they have to be written down. The day we implement accountability, all these cases will come to an end. Very lastly, Alan talks about state capture. I've responded to it. State capture is dealt with, not Alan, but my daughter here. It is dealt with through accountability. That's how you deal with state capture. And state security around governors and around all these people. You know, wastage in the, like State House spends 18 billion shillings a day, I mean a year, 18 billion shillings a year. Their budget on transport alone is 6 million shillings a day. So when you form the National Youth Convention, the first case you need to take to the High Court is on prudence of use of public taxes. And ask State House to show, because you can only, a vehicle, he has 32 cars. The president has 32 cars, SUVs. Even if you were to allocate 20,000 shillings fuel to each a day, how much is that? 700,000? Yeah, so 700,000 to round it off. So even if you were to fuel at 20,000 per SUV per day, you can only spend 600 and something a day. How do you spend 6 million on fuel alone per day? So this looting that has been going on is actually treasonable and must be stopped. So this country is not beyond redemption. We are not Uganda. We are not Tanzania. We are a constitutional democracy. These things are not democracies. These neighbors, they keep calling us Irani and all those kinds of things. But actually they are not democracies. We are a democracy, work in progress. And my word to you is this. If you organize, you reclaim your power. You will stop agonizing. These people will be pleading. You saw how Ruto was pleading for the youth to join him in our next space. That's how you know the power that you have. Because when you have power and you don't organize, you lose it. But the day you mobilize and organize yourself across the 47 counties, use technology across the 290 constituencies, across the 1,450 wards in the country, you will regain your power and you will go the direction you want to go. And I'm suggesting that the direction should be in the Kenya National Youth Marshall Plan. That should be your manifesto, to show where the young people of this country, who are 69% of the adult population where you want to go to. Represent us, give us a direction for where Kenya should be. And finally, it was about the sovereignty of the Republic and the foreign influence in Kenya. That foreign influence is there because young people were stopped when they started to deal with these institutions. These people have no power over us. It's just us who allow them. And you know the reason the comprador class, the ruling class, loves these bodies is because all the money that comes in terms of loans and aid is stolen. It never is never applied. You've seen how Ruto is using Nyota Fund as if it is money. That's a loan which the young people are going to pay, not Ruto. But he's using it as if it's a tool to campaign. And we have allowed it. No young person has gone to court to stop that from happening. So you see, if you sit and become spectators in your country, you will, Wakikuyu husema, unajifanya ng'ombe utakamuliwa. If the youth of this country, who are 70% of the vote, decide to become cows, they are going to be milked. Yeah. So stand up and fight for this country so that your destiny is secure. Our sovereignty will be restored the day the young people of this country say no. Young people in countries have gone to court to say that IMF must account to the people of the country they give loans to. So young people have so much power across the world because, especially in Africa, because you are the majority and you have the power in numbers. Thank you very much. Organize, don't agonize.
Before we let you go, there's a question that was asked, and I want to ask on behalf of any young person who is planning to contest for us.
Yes, please.
It is not about what we're going to do as a government, but how are we going to ensure that you win these seats and we know the nature of our policies. I think that the gentleman asked, I know someone like Tuko and Dan here would be very interested in this kind of conversations because look at who the people follow. What are you going to do to make sure that these people will actually listen to Cyprian Nyamwamu and vote for you? Listen to Gerald and vote for him. Any other person planning to run? Because now we are saying that we need some sanity in the parliament, we need some sanity in the county assembly. Maybe share with us a secret. Maybe in a minute or two, share with us a secret. So that we don't want to go for it.
Let me say this. If we organize, if the good people of Nairobi organize, and I am planning a convention at Fungamano on August 15th, all young aspirants and women aspirants in Nairobi, we want to meet to Fungamano. All of us. So that we actually cause the revolution that we are talking about. We don't want to be theoretical. If we try to use the tactics of these guys, we are going to lose and lose very badly. Okay? So that is what we need. All the good people who want to lead, not bleed, those who want to lead Nairobi and deliver Nairobi, we should meet in August so that we know who are our candidates, the peoples. We are going to call the people's MCAs in every ward. We are going to develop a database. The people's MPs in the 17 constituencies, the people's MCAs in the 85 wards of Nairobi. Then we say, who is the people's senator? All the people's senators, aspirants, should come to Fungamano. The people's governor should come to Fungamano. So that we agree who are going to be our candidates. How are we going to nominate our candidates? And how are the people of Nairobi going to finance our election? You see that man there called Obama? A black man in the United States of America became president because Americans funded his election. Are you with me now? If you leave somebody to use his millions, you are actually telling him, go to City Hall and loot. Because how is he going to recover the money that he was given by the big donors? Our big donors. There is no reason I cannot give you my 70 million shillings for you to campaign if you are not going to give me the contracts so that I can be able to make at least 2 billion out of that. People are not in charity. The only way you beat these guys and the cartels, we have 8 cartels in Nairobi, is if the people fund our election. They fund our election. If the people are not ready to fund the election of a good governor, good MCS, good women reps, and you want me, because the budget of elections of a governor, if you have seen that study, is nothing less than 300 million shillings.
I think now to be an MP in Nairobi, you need at least 30 million.
An MP?
Yes.
That's an MCA. That's an MCA. I'm telling you the truth. MP here in Nairobi is nothing less than 70 million. I can tell you that for free. So for us to beat these guys, we have to come together and run a common budget of a revolutionary budget to deliver Nairobi. We cannot change Nairobi if we campaign like them. If we campaign like them, we cannot change Nairobi. I'm telling you the truth. If we receive money, I've been approached. You saw Maraga returning 46 million shillings that came from a donor. Because if somebody is sending 46 million shillings to you, what does he want when you become governor, when you become president? That you must give him a whole ministry and the contracts then. So if we want to change this Nairobi, all of us who want a new Nairobi, Nairobi to Itakayo, have to come together, and I have offered myself to be the convener, and we are going to bring every good person, those who call themselves Watumishi, because you know I'm Mtumishi. Even when you go to my socials, I am Mtumishi, Cyprian Nyamwamu. Those who want to be Watumishi, to do for the people the work they are going to be elected, let's come together and let us deliver Nairobi together. Thank you very much.